Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon slash morning, depending on where you are, maybe even evening. So nice to see you. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a minute or two. My colleague Alice is here, who's our head of strategy and growth. She's going to be managing our chat. So please keep an eye out for that. So here we are today. Very exciting topic to talk about redesigning retirement. And we're here with one of our very favorite experts, Sharmila Fowler, who's been with us from day one, right, Sharmila?
Yes, so
Before
excited
day
to be.
one.
Yes, we talked and really, I enjoyed meeting you, Abby. So
Sharmila has a tremendous amount of experience working in corporate environments, executive coaching. She's also a woman in America, a mom who is about to, well, not maybe about. Sharmila, how soon are you until retirement?
it's sort of, I've been redesigning this, right?
There you go. Perfect.
So you you'll see how I've come up with different ways to reinvent, redesign, reimagine.
Perfect. And that's really the beauty of SAM, right? It's that you're not only an expert here on SAM with all of this tremendous professional experience, but you also have a deep well of lived experience as well. So, next slide, please. I'm going to just talk a little bit about SAM for those of you who don't know us. We are a new platform we launched last year. I'm Abby Nydam, I'm the founder and CEO. We are the support platform for women, and our mission is to support you in the events that you're going through in your life, big moments, little moments, and we do that through one-to-one private sessions with experts like Sharmila. On SAM, you have access to a human navigator, events such as these, and tools that we're always updating. Every time we see something new or one of our experts shares something great to help women move through whatever we're going through or whatever you're going through towards to get you towards better, more in control with practical, supportive advice. You can scan the QR code on the screen. This will take you to the platform and we'll take you through a little bit towards the end here when Sharmila is finished with her presentation and discussion and share about how you can work with Sharmila right here on SAM. So without further ado, Sharmila, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Abby. I am really thrilled to be here. Love working with you and the team. So, hi, everyone. I wanted to just kind of start to just delve right into this whole topic of redesigning, reimagining retirement. And so, I want to start off by asking you a question. And this is whether you're retired now or you're not. But when you pictured retirement many years ago, is this what is it what you picture today? I think that's the biggest thing because many of us, when we were growing up, you kind of had this idea of what retirement might look like. I mean, I remember thinking when I started working, I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this for another 30 or 40 years. What am I going to do when I retire? And so we all had some pictures, and I wanted you to kind of take a look at all of these pictures and see, was it like one picture? Was it more? Because really today, retirement looks like many of these pictures. And that's actually good news because retirement no longer has to fit into one box. Let's kind of go into that. Because, again, as I mentioned, for decades, retirement followed sort of a fairly predictable script. Again, you worked full time, 30 to 40 years, you reached a certain age, you collected a pension or Social Security, and then you just automatically shifted into a slower pace of life. Today, again, very few people experience retirement that way. In fact, retirement has really changed. There's so many statistics out there on retirement, and we wanted to just share some that have to do with women. And so, because There's one that really, I guess, stood out to me, and that's that first one. Only 19% of women say that retirement has met their expectations. Think about that. That means that 4 out of 5 women imagined retirement one way and experienced something very different. Their expectations aren't being met. Also, confidence is low. If you see the next bullet, only 18% of women are confident they can retire comfortably. What does comfortably mean anyway? Well, we know if you look at the last 2 bullets, money certainly is a factor in living comfortably. And that is also a concern for many women. Majority feel that they won't have enough money to live on comfortably during retirement. And a majority, even higher, 80%, feel that our country faces some active retirement crisis. And that again has to do, you can see there, with money, inflation, and rising costs. So that's kind of why I'm here to help you think about preparing for retirement differently. And by reimagining retirement, we can really design that new chapter in our lives. So whether you're 15 years away from retirement, a few years away, or in the middle of retirement, it's never too early or too late to design your own retirement. As we think about retiring, there are some current realities we need to kind of consider, right? These are realities that we are facing as women. First of all, we're healthier, so we also live longer. And so women who are reaching 65 can expect to live on average 2 to 3 years longer than men. And that might not seem like a lot, but when you put it in the context of retirement, that can be like 20 to 25 years of being retired. The next, current reality is that think about caregiving. Approximately 60 to 65% of family caregivers are women. So retirement isn't an isolated event. As we know, we are excellent multitaskers. And many women enter retirement while simultaneously caring for their parents, children, grandparents, and or spouses, many at the same time. This can impact our financial realities as well as our emotional well-being. And then finally, when we think about all of us in the workforce, we're seeing that our identities are closely tied to our careers, becoming even more closely tied. And so when we retire, many of us experience loss. Not only loss of workplace identity, but also loss of workplace relationships and loss of sense of purpose. So, kind of taking all that into consideration, I want you to think about this. We're going to kind of look at sort of this modern retirement. What does it look like? And wanted to share with you several roles that we see or expressions. And many women find themselves embracing more than one of these roles. So let's go kind of, but for each one, let's look at, first of all, like the contributor. That person is still thinking they've left the workforce, but they still want to offer something. They have something valuable to offer. This person continues working through consulting, part-time work, coaching, mentoring, starting their own business, maybe being on a board. Those are some, ways that person can contribute. Next is the caregiver. We talked about that. That's a current reality. That person is saying, the people I love need me. So again, this caregiver is helping family members and close people close to her, but while balancing her own personal needs. The explorer. I'm expanding my world through new experiences. I love this one because I love to travel. But, think about this: travel, learning, being creative, looking for new adventures in life, new possibilities. This person is driven by curiosity around the world, right? Or about the world. Then we've got the change maker. This person volunteers, mentors, serves on nonprofit boards, invests time in causes that matter. And then finally, the rediscoverer. And I love this. This person is driven by looking inward, rediscovering passions, her own identity, a new identity, the confidence to do something different. What are my dreams? What brings me joy? So that person's really becoming reacquainted with herself. So again, the beauty is that retirement isn't about choosing one of these identities because you may see yourself in two, three, maybe all five. So again, you get to choose which parts of yourself you want to bring forward in this next chapter. So just keep that in mind and let's move on because I want you to meet Susan. And Susan is 61 years old. She recently retired after a successful 35-year corporate career. She was financially prepared. She and her husband had planned to travel. She thought her retirement would finally give her the freedom she'd been working towards for decades. But 6 months later, she found herself asking, why doesn't retirement feel the way I imagined? She wasn't unhappy, she just wasn't fulfilled. Now, I'm going to be honest, Susan isn't one specific client. She's actually a combination of many women that I've coached and spoken to over the years. Perhaps Susan is someone you know. Maybe she's you, a friend, a sister, a coworker, or perhaps a few years from now, she might be you. And Susan did everything right. She saved, she planned, she worked incredibly hard. Yet, again, after retirement, something was missing. And it was, again, financially, she was prepared, but emotionally, she wasn't as prepared. She wasn't sure who she was becoming. And that's when she realized that retirement wasn't about simply leaving work, it was about designing a completely new chapter of life. So I want you to think about as we redesign retirement, think of financial planning, financial readiness as the foundation, because that is absolutely essential, right? But a foundation doesn't make the house. The life you build on that foundation is where retirement design begins. So, again, while financial planning is incredibly important and it answers that one question, can I retire? There's a much bigger question that emerges once you've answered that. And that's, how do I want to live? And this is where you notice that retirement shifts from just preparing for retirement to designing through retirement. And that's where this framework that I'm about to share with you, which is the Reimagining Retirement Framework, that's where it begins. And that's what can help us as we kind of plan for life readiness. So today, again, we're talking about redesigning our retirement. And one way I do that is through what I call this Reimagining Retirement Framework. And as we think about this, there are 7 focus areas that help create a life that feels balanced and meaningful and connected and sustainable over time. And you'll notice that financial freedom is there. It's a part of this. And financial planning is a part of that. But all of these focus areas can help you answer questions that a simple spreadsheet cannot do. So I'd like to just kind of share these different focus areas with you, and I want to bring in Susan into all of these areas. So let's start with the first focus area, which is financial freedom. Again, that is the foundation, right? That's designing financial security and flexibility that allows you to live, to give, and to make choices on your own terms, right? It's not about how much money will I have, but rather, do I have enough freedom to make choices aligned with my values? So Susan, for example, thought financial freedom was ensuring she just had enough in her portfolio, right? But she realized something interesting because she had enough money, but she was worried about spending money. She spent decades accumulating it, but now she had to learn how to enjoy it. And so instead of, she kind of asked herself, this is how what we talked about, what is this money actually for? Was it for travel? Was it for experiences with the family? For giving? For peace of mind? I mean, you have to think about that because she discovered that financial freedom wasn't about having more. It was about having that permission to use what she'd worked so hard to build. And that is a very different conversation. Next, let's move to purposeful contribution. And that is engaging your skills. It's your experience, bringing your talents out in ways that make it feel meaningful, energizing, and aligned with who you're becoming in retirement. Think about it, kind of helps you answer. Think about this question: how do I want to use my wisdom? So, Susan thought retirement meant she should just stop working, and that's it. But then what she realized is she missed solving problems. She missed mentoring younger professionals at her work. Um, and she missed being known for her expertise. Of course, she didn't miss office politics, but she missed purpose in life. So, now realizing she had left work, instead of returning back full time, she decided to go back to consulting and work 2 days a week, just using the expertise and knowledge that she had. She joined a nonprofit board and she mentored two young women that were just starting out in their careers. So she wasn't recreating her old career, she was redesigning it. Okay, let's move over to physical vitality because that's where you want to prioritize energy, movement, health, and nutrition so that you can thrive every day. And really answer the question, do I have the energy to enjoy this chapter? Susan had always planned to get healthy in retirement, but that was in retirement. She was working so hard, she didn't have time to think about all this. And she quickly learned that when she did retire, that these good intentions don't automatically become habits. You have to be intentional about it. Intentional about joining the walking group that she joined, starting strength training, cooking more at home so it would be healthier, more nutritious, and also sleeping more. She also found a workout buddy to be accountable to and was really on her way to trying to live better. Then we go to emotional well being, and that's all about cultivating peace, resilience, acceptance, and gratitude as you navigate these new changes that are happening in your life and embrace the new rhythms of your new life. And the question here is, how will I embrace change? And for Susan, this was very surprising to her because she expected just all the freedom, right? But instead, she experienced a lot of uncertainty because she missed, again, work. She missed feeling needed. She was grieving the identity that she'd had for 35 years. Eventually, she realized nothing was wrong. And she wasn't lost, she was just simply transitioning. I use this phrase a lot, but I'm sure you've all heard of it. Change is the only constant. Well, she realized she needed to embrace change. And that realization gave her permission to become curious instead of critical of herself. Let's move to social connection. That's all about building and nurturing meaningful relationships, including a spouse or significant, with your spouse or significant other, family, friends, community, people that support you and uplift you. It really answers the question, who will I share this life with? And again, going back to Susan, our workaholic, her calendar had always been full, but much of it revolved around work connections. And after retiring, she realized that many of those relationships just stayed at work. So she became intentional again about trying to reconnect with old friends, starting new social experiences like a monthly dinner group, spending more time with family, volunteering to meet new people. And instead of waiting for people to connect with her, she started creating those connections. So she took initiative. Moving on to joyful living, now we're looking at creating intentional spaces for curiosity, for creativity, play, any experience that brings fulfillment and delight and renewal to your life. Kind of answering that question, what makes me come alive? And one day, Susan just started thinking about this. What was the last thing she did, that made her smile? And she couldn't really remember. So she started cultivating new hobbies. She really didn't have a lot of hobbies because she was, again, working all the time. She decided to indulge in a watercolor class, learned how to garden, and she started planning trips that she'd always postponed because she was always too busy. And she laughed more and she played more. And then realized that, again, joy doesn't happen accidentally, but you have to make room for it. And then finally, the last pillar or the last focus area is really environmental harmony. And that's all about designing places and spaces that provide comfort and balance, inspiration, and support the way you want to live. And really, if you ask yourself this question, does my environment support the life I'm creating? That's really what you want to be able to do. It's all about that environment. And so now Susan realized, okay, I'm going to kind of look at my own home and try to convert things. She converted her home office into a creative studio, which allowed her to create her watercolor paintings in a space that was, again, bringing her environmental harmony. She created an outdoor oasis in her garden where she could sip coffee in the mornings. She could get inspired. And she really started, thinking about, that question about my environment. Does it support the person I'm becoming? So I really just want to share that, in the end, Susan really realized that retirement wasn't about reaching the finish line. It was about designing her next beginning. And what I want to leave you with today is asking yourself one simple question. And that's, how do I design the life I want to lead during retirement? Because again, as I just mentioned, what Susan realized is that retirement isn't the end of your story. It's just simply the beginning of your next chapter. Thank you for taking time to kind of learn about how to redesign and reimagine retirement. And I will turn this back over to Abby.
Sharmila, I am, excuse me, I am nowhere near retirement, but I want to work with you on this. So,
Thank
wow. But seriously, I mean, it's just such an opportunity. At what point in our lives as women do we get a chance to really take a step back and think about how we want to spend our next 20 years?
It's a long
Um,
time, Abby.
right?
You know,
Or
you think about
more,
that.
30 years,
Yeah,
40
yeah,
years even,
yeah.
right?
People are retiring earlier these days, but not sure what they're going to do. And so I think a lot of this is just kind of thinking and planning ahead so that you don't just end up one day where you just fell off the cliff and you're like, we're working and now what are you doing?
And that's what happens, right? Because the conversation around retirement is not around purpose or intention. It's always just financial. And
Yes.
that's just one piece of it, as you pointed out. I'd love to invite any questions in the chat that Sharmila can answer for you all if you have any. I have one question, which is, the financial piece is really kind of that foundational element. And how do you work with women through if that is not fully set?
So I am not a financial advisor or planner, but what I recommend is working with a financial planner or advisor on that piece because that is a foundation. You have to have enough money for what you want to do, right? It's not saving as much money as possible. It's saving to be intentional about having that freedom. It's the financial freedom to make the choices that you want to make to live the life you want to live.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm not that person to make those, help you make those financial decisions, but I want you to realize that it's not about, saving, X amount in the bank and then you get into retirement. And just like, we talked about Susan, she was afraid to spend it. And so, again, understanding what you're going to do with the money and the choices you're going to make is very helpful and very important. And that's what I can help with,
And
along
and
the other
and just,
areas.
you're spending so much of your life saving for this moment, the right? And how do you switch over into that intentional enjoyment? Sharmila, you are just amazing. I love what you've put together with this framework. I love that you've decided that you want to help women move through this with intention and structure, which is what is needed, right? At a time, at a crossroads such as retirement. We'd love for you all to work with Sharmila. Right now, we know that retirement can be a financially tricky subject and topic, and so we are offering a pay what you can to work with Sharmila for your first session. If you go ahead and you can scan that QR code, or you can find us on wearesam.com. We'll send you a recap and some notes after this. Thank you all for joining us here today. Thank you, Sharmila, so much for lending your energy and your brilliance to SAM and to the women that you support on SAM. And we hope to see you all soon. We always have webinars and discussions such as these, so please be on the lookout for more. And hope to see you all soon. And have a good rest of the afternoon or morning.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks to everyone at SAM, and thank you for everyone who attended today.